What's up, guys? You're here for another episode of the Crappie Connection. Got myself, Justin Berry.
Brad Chappell here.
Sidekick there. And we have the great and powerful Ken Meyers and his sidekick, Mark Taylor. Welcome, guys.
I'm really the sidekick.
Oh, you are?
Have you noticed this on his arms?
In case you don't know, Ken Meyers is a comedian. I'm telling you, anytime you get around this guy, he is just making you laugh.
World-class eater, too. Don't forget that.
One of the things that we had Ken and Mark here today, I want to kind of discuss how somebody gets into tournament fishing, crappie, of course, but how do you start out? And what made you think that, hey, I want to start fishing crappie tournaments? And, you know, both you spill in and kind of give your run-in and your thought process of why did you do it?
Well, I need to start. There's a good story here. So,
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of offshore fishing, had some kids. Crappie fishing can be by your house. Mm-hmm. And Mark was crappie fishing. A lot of buddies were crappie fishing, and I was just looking for anybody to put me in the boat. Just take me crappie fishing.
So you're looking to get out of the house first off?
Well, somewhat. I mean, close enough where I can be home when I've been gone too much. So, yeah. So I needed to get out of the house. So Mark would take me crappie fishing. He tells me, hey, we got a local tournament coming up. I'd really like you can fish with me. And I was like, oh, I got a ringer. I'm probably going to get to win my first tournament I'm in, which is a good start. That's where you need to be winning automatically. So the night before the tournament, I'm kind of, laying out. All I own some fishing shorts and shirts. And Mark calls me and says, hey, we got a little problem. I'm going to fish with my brother.
You got dusted already, huh?
Dang.
So what do? I take my aluminum boat. I drill some spider rigs in there. I did order some rods from Cabela's, and I had those. I strung those up, and I went and fished the crappie tournament against Mark. And, it was amazing what happened. Of course, he won, and we got fifth. So, that was kind of the start of the hunger to go out and chase crappie and be competitive.
What about you, Mark?
I pretty much grew up my whole life. My uncle, Paul David Colvin, he's had us, all those kids, cousins, my brother. Since we were 6, 8 years old, I probably would go with him once a month. He got me started. We didn't spider rig, but we started out just 2 poles. We had 3 or 4 jigs on each pole. We'd go down the edge of the channel, or if we were bank fishing, whatever. But it was once a month. I was going to be in the boat with him, and that's what got me started. And then these local club tournaments started coming around, and of course, a group of us started kind of fishing them and competing.
What local club tournament was that?
It started out Bayou Crappie Club, is that correct?
Yeah, Bayou Crappie Club.
It's changed several times, but that's just where we started. And there's a group of about 15 of us competing against each other every time. And then, Ken come along and blew it up. He's not going to do anything.
Mainly
going to do something.
Trash talking, right? You start doing local clubs, and
first, second, and third started turning into 20th and 50th and 70th.
But we were lucky. Lake Darbone's a home lake, and we got to have a crappie masters on it. And John Godwin and John Stone won the first one. That was actually on 3 lakes, but Darbone was one of the lakes. And then
about 4 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, the cool thing was you could go pay your entry fee just like the American Crappie Trail, and compete against the best. You could show up and get in line, and there'd be Blackley and Capps and Coleman and the top fishermen in the country. And so we kind of got the bug. We fished one of those, and we were all fishing with different teams. And
you got the sickness.
Oh, we were learning at every step. Somebody was having a fish die, and just it was a great experience.
One of my things that's exciting, I guess, about when I go to a tournament is actually getting to see my buddies. Go out to eat and just the friendships that ACT has brought, Crappie Masters, even small Magnolia Crappie Club, which is a stiff field of competitors in itself as well. But just meeting these different guys that have the same passion that we all got at this table for sure. But
that's where you and I first met. Was at a Magnolia Crappie Club tournament on Grenada. We said, hey, you know what? We're not going to get to pre-fish. Let's just go fish. and see what happens. And we found ourselves fishing beside some of the best, and we're like, okay, we're figuring these things out, and we're still obviously figuring a lot of things out. But that friendship, those bonds you make with people at these tournaments, and that's probably one of the
And
biggest
what you
pieces
learn.
Oh,
You can't get it anywhere else, in my opinion, besides fishing some tournaments.
Yeah.
100. I mean, I think back to saying, okay, I'm going crappie fishing. I got to go to Walmart. I got to go to the bait store, and I've got to buy Caps and Coleman double minnow rigs because that's what's going to work. To now where it's just there's a whole nother level, and you're not going to get that learning,
Experienced anywhere else.
just fishing your home lake.
Right.
I mean, that's we talk about it all the time. I mean, there's some really good fishermen on our lake, and I think about a couple of guys that fish this tournament. I call them giant killers. They don't have any jerseys. They're not sponsored. Hemp Hill and Satterfield. But they've fished literally 3 or 4 ACTs, and I promise you they've won more than I've ever won in them. And they were just guys who were fishing local tournaments a year ago, and they stepped out top 10,
Yeah.
2 on different lakes.
So I mean, that's what you're saying. Like, the guys that's just now starting into it, don't be scared to jump in and do it.
Oh no!
Right
I mean,
off the
there were last night Jack Wells said it best when he said, I see all these jerseys out there, but don't be surprised. You got Rabbit Rogers out there. You've got these local teams who can show up on that day of that tournament, and they can drum you. And you out there can do the same thing. If you're good on your lake, start fishing and start adding more lakes. But it takes time to learn those. I mean, this is our second time to Ross Barnett, and the first time was tough, and this time was tough too.
What about a crash course? If you'd say, hey, look, what would be the ABCs that you need to get in line before you start fishing tournaments or thinking about fishing tournaments?
I got one answer real quick.
Yeah.
Google.
That's great.
Google.
Straight up Google.
I would say just go out there and fish those small community clubs first. I mean, but literally in the last 3 years, I fished with like I said, my uncle, which is one of the best fishermen that I know of. I've learned more in 3 years than I probably did the last 20.
Yeah.
But I think from where we started to where we are, we've talked to so many people, because all these guys will tell you exactly how they're doing it, and then you try to kind of mimic it, and I guess what I'm trying to say is we've kind of been pulled this way, and I think when we just put it all together, I think we'll start doing really well.
Now, he did leave out a piece. They will tell you a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
A
will
lot of
lie.
lies. I mean, crappie fishermen are notorious liars. I mean, they tell you. I laugh to this day. The first big tournament that we fished, it was windy, and one of the big pros was there, and we said, hey, man, when it's windy, do you go heavy or do you go light? He goes, you go light. You go light.
Quarter.
I promise you, the next year we fished nothing but light in the wind, and we're like, this works great. And then a year later, we're fishing tournaments again. We're with a bunch of big pros, and we're like, hey, when it's windy, what do you fish? Oh, you go heavy. Definitely go heavy. And we're like, liars. We're all liars. I don't know, but
What do you do then, Ken? Tell me what you do.
a year ago we went light. Now we go heavy. I mean,
What's working best?
We actually it seems that the light works best, but I think that's wrong. I mean, look,
Personal preference.
Here's something though you got to look at with tournaments. If you think that you're going to fish a regional tournament and that's going to dictate your success in these tournaments, that's not the case. I mean, there are guys that in local tournaments may not do all that good, and then all of a sudden on this stage they can do good. And so it's all about experience, time. There's some luck. There's definitely luck, but the learnings that come in, and those guys get around certain individuals and you build relationships with them, they're going to help you.
Yeah. I mean, I've only fished probably 3 or 4 handful of tournaments, not counting the one me and Ken fished together. They don't count.
How'd y'all do?
We didn't even weigh
Man,
in,
it was
man.
a beautiful day at the lake.
A beautiful day.
Right here,
Enjoyed-
Ross, at the
I have
rest.
a picture of a striper, we call it.
You still got it?
Nice
Yes,
striper.
large.
We were so happy to catch that fish, get some action. But no, just like for me, for instance, like y'all fish more tournaments than I ever have, and the relationship that I've created with these guys is is awesome with the Facebook, with the connection here, with just like I got to know my best friend here, Brad, and then Brad introduced me to Ken, and then it's just ask anybody to help you.
Like building a wall. I mean,
Yeah.
you just build friendships and also knowledge off of these things.
Oh.
You're gonna come out at the end of the day with a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna come back also with a lot of knowledge, and and you read anything about it, everybody's gonna say time on the water, and you're gonna get some time on the water.
100%. And that's probably what separates the best from those that are starting out is time on the water. I mean,
Yeah.
Caps and Coleman, somebody said the rumor they've never lost a tournament on Ross Barnett. I mean, they win a lot here.
Yeah.
They know this lake. Before they get here, they know spots to check, where they're going, and we're getting here and we're going,
What to do?
we're on Navionics, on our app, on Lake Master going, where do we go?
Latest reports.
And then you're really happy when you show up at that spot and they're there. I mean, that's what gives you a lot of that, confirmation that you're picking the right spots.
Like a new team like you guys, what are you looking for when you go to a new lake? You saying, let's say Eufaula over in Oklahoma. You're about to go to Eufaula. What do you do as a new team to go over there?
I mean, I just look at the time of the year for one thing, and then I'm gonna work my way from the channel to the secondary creek back to the flats, and then whatever time of the year, that's the water depth I'm on target. But I mean, I've learned in the last 3 years, just because it says 62 degrees this time of year, that don't mean nothing. They can still humble you. They'll be in place like last year. That water temperature was, in my whole life, I said spawning temperature, and people were catching them 20 foot deep. I mean, full of eggs. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. But every lake's just different, But I mean, we do a lot of research before we leave the house, and we kind of got a game plan. Just like I had a lot of spots picked out for this lake this go round, and the wind. I mean, we couldn't.
But
fish
they were the
any
right
of them.
spots. I mean, we show up at this tournament, and today we fished by pretty much all the best fishermen in the country, which I will not tell you where they were, Brad. But that gives us, we get back and we go, okay, look, we're figuring this out. This is year 2. We're figuring this out, and now it's technique for us. It's what's that technique going to be on each lake, and but there is tons of pre-planning. I mean, we sit and study maps.
Yeah.
And before we get here, we're saying, okay, this, and this. But then after that, we start networking, which is good at times. I mean, I might call you and say, hey, seriously, where do I need to be? And then you'll lie to me, and I'll end up the river in a bunch
I
of
tell you what,
grass.
on those summer
Spillway.
tournaments, before I got to know Brad, on the first time I met Brad down there at Lake Washington, yeah, I got on at work. I got on the last 4 years or last 3 years average of like what the first place was, done the average, and seen what first place was and how they did it, because they're going to have a report on the winning of like what they actually use. So I kind of mimic that or try to go in that direction. That's a great, that's a good point there. Try to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I also think it's. Do you take that information and put it in practice? I mean, last year this tournament was won, and I'm sure it's on TV, by Caps and Coleman with wax worms on a jig, and we all went, wax worms?
We talked about that.
What? Seriously? And of course, here we are. Here again, we don't have any wax worms, so we probably should have some. We'll probably find out tomorrow that wax worms work.
Again.
So interpreting that information and putting it to use, it's out there. The
Yeah.
TV shows are so good now.
I think, somebody new, I think one of their mindsets is they don't experiment enough. And what I mean by that, as far as, well, they're used to going to this certain lake and only troll 0.5 or 0.6, and that's what they stick to. And they live and die by that. And especially fishing tournaments, you live and die by one method and stick to only that, more than likely you're going to have to change up things and fluctuate different things. And when I know what you're looking at me for right now.
Well, no, I mean, you know what? I also say this. I mean, I speak about the 2 guys from our area that have been doing really good, and I told them, I said, obviously what you're doing is working. Don't change it. we have gotten so much knowledge and information fed to us in the last 2 years because of exposure. And we did a lot of things right when we started out, or consistent. And so keeping it simple sometimes and staying with what you're good at may work in 3/4 of the tournament, might not work in all of them. And so what we find ourselves doing, because we're around all these great fishermen, is we try to adjust what we're doing at every tournament. I promise that's very difficult to do. If you're great at long lining, long line.
I see you.
It's good. You know, if you're
Touche,
the best,
touche.
if you're the best. And so, you know what's funny is today, Mark would be more of a could single pole better, much better than myself, considering I started out fishing. Spider rigging was how you fished.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had that exposure that he had
Right.
of single poling over tops.
Yeah, see, I started single poling first too.
So that's
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be hard for you to go single pole. Today, we caught half of our whitefish single poling. I actually caught. I mean, I can actually say I caught one single poling. That's
Something.
that's something. That's like you spider rigging. I mean, so I mean, I will tell you, and I'll tell anybody that's getting into this. Don't try to change immediately. Stick with what you're doing and stay consistent, and then. Because I think some of the guys that are the best are they're a lot more simple than we.
What you think?
We're thinking they're out there changing colors and I really think they're really more consistent than that.
I will say this. I think once you say you started fishing some local tournaments and you got in these big tournaments and you started liking it and you started traveling, and then you started trusting some guys to give you some good knowledge. The thing is it's hard to copy what somebody else is doing.
Right.
They can give you the color, the jig head, the speed, the depth on this contour, and you can't do it like they can, because
Exactly.
you got to make it your own. I mean, because if you run a line and you catch some good fish, there's no doubt tournament day you can come back and do that. But if somebody tells you what to do, where to do it, it's hard to copy what they did. So you basically take their knowledge, but just still go with your gut.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
It's a great point right there. Great point.
And we this is our conversation all the time. I mean, let's do what's best for us. I mean, we fished jigs almost exclusively for a year. I might have had one double minnow rig.
Really?
And then if you start, but we started out double minnow rigging, and double minnow rigging works.
Oh yeah.
It works, but jigs work too. So I mean, you really got to be willing to experiment, like you're saying, on your own, and get out there and try.
There's a lot of confidence too in what you're
It
doing.
is all about.
I'm more of a jig guy, but that's the way I was raised, though. And like my family, they wouldn't break out a live minnow till it got
Bad.
80-degree water temperature. They were going to use jigs with a crappie niblet, and we had thousands of fish fries with them. That's it works. But I mean, now we're going to tip a minnow, on our jig.
Instead of a wax worm.
We're thinking about going to crickets. Maybe catching bluegill.
I did that last week. I caught a bluegill
Jeez.
on a minnow.
You don't fish them. Did you have minnows today? Oh, sold out totally. I mean,
I did. Caught most of my fish on
sold
jigs though.
out. I mean, the long lining legend. So look, we can stop there. I've had enough. I'm done. Long lining.
You got another question, Brian?
No, just want to thank y'all guys for coming on and shooting the bull with us a little bit and talking crappie fishing. That's what we're about. And, thank you guys for starting crappie fishing, and, look forward to seeing more of you guys out there. Gotta
Hey,
get 'em
we
tomorrow.
love it. We love it. And we appreciate being on here. The one thing I'll tell you, we've got some great sponsors. Everybody here has some good sponsors, and people always ask me. This is the one thing I wanted to tell people. Hey, man, how do you get sponsored? How do you get sponsors? And look,
That's probably everybody's question, number one question right there.
I want to get a sponsor, man. I really want to get. Well, you get out and you hustle and you promote products and you work hard to build the sport, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
We're trying to raise awareness to crappie fishing and
How fun it is.
and this has done it, and this is doing it, and you know, we have to promote the sport, we have to grow the sport, and that comes through conservation, being good sportsmen, taking care of our lakes, but promoting and growing businesses that support crappie fishing, like Pro-Built, Banded, Bobby Garland, B&M Poles, Denali Poles. I mean,
Yeah.
getting out and promoting those products and bringing people to the sport, and those are who are going to back us, and we really appreciate being on here.
Yeah. It's a big hustle to support the sponsors on that. Everybody looks at it. If you're listening in, you're tuning in, what do you need to do? I believe the number one thing for everybody is social media. It's everybody's go-to right there on some.
I think number one, you got to believe in what you're wanting to get sponsored by.
True that.
100%. It's not about just putting.
It's just not having a label on yourself because you can get one.
Right.
In my opinion.
That's right. It's not. You don't promote the crappie pick because the crappie pick exists. I mean, you want to believe in what you're using, and that's going to help you promote it. But that's what's going to help grow the sport is getting out there, bringing people to the sport, telling them about what you use, telling them how to use it.
And people getting in and fishing some tournaments, and then saying, "Hey, man, just like you guys started here. Hey, why don't you go fishing tomorrow with me? I need a partner." It's just like that. If you need a partner, you want to fish some tournaments, hey, call a buddy up.
Oh, that's like
yeah.
Justin and I when we fished.
Yeah.
Together. We had never met
That's right.
before we got in a boat, and we went and entered a Magnolia Crappie tournament. Did you win that?
No, second.
Second. We probably had a good wait. We just had to get home.
I know I had a good time. I mean, we hustled.
We enjoyed
He
it.
learned my techniques. Didn't like them. I didn't like them either.
No,
Wasn't prepared for it.
was painful.
But we created a bond because of why?
Yeah.
Because of crappie.
Crappie fishing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Mark, you want to add anything before we go off?
Hey guys, thank y'all for letting me come on here. I look forward to Fridays. We're both in sales and we drive a lot, and every Friday I'm gonna listen to the podcast and learn from those guys. I mean, I'm just honored to be on here, really.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. Great and powerful Ken Meyers, ladies and gentlemen.
Crusher.
The Crusher. Dude, I just want that video y'all did when you was laying on the couch.
yeah, that was one of
I
was one of
laughed and laughed and laughed. That's like that's awesome.
Oh, when we blew the day one lead?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
we
bringing it up.
did blow a day one
But
lead.
it didn't even matter, man, because y'all
No,
absorbed it and y'all
mattered.
Is it still on
mattered.
Facebook?
Oh yeah, it's still on Facebook.
probably got 1 million views now.
You need to definitely, if you have not seen that video,
Yeah.
take a few minutes.
It's definitely on Facebook. It's really it
On
was
your
real.
page itself,
It was
Ken?
real. It's definitely on my page, and make sure you go to my Instagram. That's we do a lot of stuff on there and put a lot of pictures
Yeah, a
up.
lot of
And
fun. A lot of fun.
hey, we
that is a
appreciate
fun
all the
video.
support.
Yeah. Well, guys, appreciate it coming on. Another special thanks. Hey, we're in Bass Pro here in Pearl, Mississippi.
No,
ACT's here doing their tournament on the res.
day two.
Day 2 coming up tomorrow. Other than that, guys, you got anything else to add, Brad?
Oh man, holler.
All right, we out. See y'all.
About a mile from the Big Muddy River, a place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my worries drift away.